and the country is moving into a potentially long-term recession. Boo. I'll continue to prompt you all. So, on Monday, when this legislation was actually introduced in the House, millions of people, millions of voters, called their representatives to demand that the average person be protected during this uncertain time. The outpouring of opposition for the bailout was historic, and I think the people of Colorado and everyone across the country sent two very powerful messages to Congress. First, we as a country stood up to corporate greed and finally said, although the financial institutions got us into this mess, we're all in this together. Most of us are willing to find a solution to this economic crisis, but only if it addresses the concerns of all of us. Homeowners who are in foreclosure, seniors with crumbling retirement accounts, and the unemployed workers should be at the table, at the negotiating table with those big financial institutions and those wealthy CEOs. Our fates are linked together, and when we told our representatives that no one should be left behind as this moves forward, we were strong in saying that. Second, we sent the message that we, as everyday people, can make our democracy work again. Although Wall Street held the country's financial interests hostage during the vote on Monday, it was the voters who forced their representatives to be accountable to their constituents and vote down the legislation. That was us. Yeah. So we have the power to hold politicians' feet to the fire, and we can only do that if we as voters stay engaged with this issue. So we must remember these issues and these lessons as the Senate moves forward on the bailout. We are all in this together, and we must hold our elected officials accountable to the people they represent, not the moneyed interests that got us into this quagmire. Families in Denver and Fort Collins and Alamosa and Grand Junction are willing to work with Congress and with Wall Street to get our country's economy moving again. That's what it's all about, working together. But we are not willing to bear a burden that should not be ours to bear. And that is what the proposed $700 billion bailout currently seeks to do. Thank you again. So how do we move forward? We the people must demand that, at minimum, any legislation addressing the current crisis include these components. First, we must have much more oversight, control over, and regulation of financial institutions. When these big corporations were allowed to play with no rules, they destroyed the financial security of this country. Any bill that moves forward must place strict limitations on CEO compensation. No more golden parachutes, no more diamond-studded cufflinks, and no more Russian roulette with the livelihoods of hardworking people. Second, the legislation must include an economic recovery package to get the economy moving again. We can create jobs through infrastructure programs like in the old New Deal, but in this new Deal. We can build bridges, highways, levees that are much needed, public transit and schools, and we can actually invest in renewable energies. Lord knows that we need all those things, right? We can expand food stamps, we can extend unemployment insurance, and we can increase refundable tax credits that help working people to make ends meet. That's economic recovery we know works, and that's what we can count on. And finally, it must contain provisions to protect people facing home foreclosures. As this plan is implemented, assets are evaluated, and the financial sector rebounds, top priority must be given.
People like me.
Exactly. Top priority must be given to helping current homeowners renegotiate their mortgages on manageable terms. It is of the utmost importance that this massive restructuring of the American home mortgage market be accomplished in such a way that the greatest number of American families and all families possible be able to stay in their current homes or make good on their pending applications to obtain their first homes. Explicit provisions should ensure use of the full array of financial and legal tools that are available to stop government foreclosures and restructure home mortgages specifically for ordinary Americans, including amending the bankruptcy code to allow judges to modify mortgages. We are all concerned that some members of Congress appear determined to rush this corporate bailout into law. Such rash and irresponsible action would saddle the average taxpayer with thousands of dollars of debt for years to come. Instead of spending hundreds of billions of dollars on a corporate bailout, we need to call on Congress to invest in America's future. So today, here in Denver and across the United States, Similar-minded groups are engaging in a national day of action. We must move forward together because we're all impacted by this mess. We at CPC, Colorado Progressive Coalition, and Jobs with Justice encourage you to get involved with this issue to make sure Congress does what we know is right. If you have any questions, please contact Scott or I, and look us up on the internet, progressivecoalition.org. Thanks for your time.